Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Left Inside, a weekly podcast offering a critical look at news, politics, and culture from a left perspective. My name is Jessie Kelly. I'm back again as host for this week, and I am joined again by my usuals. We have Nicole McCarthy.
Hello.
We have Dave Murphy.
Hello.
And we have a new guest joining us this week. You will know him as Leftist Dad on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know the fame of Leftist Dad, but I've heard only amazing things about it. But also as editor of Rupture magazine, one of the 4 editors, we have Des.
Hi, everybody.
You're very welcome on to Left Inside, Des.
Thank you.
So this week we're going to be back discussing the biggest stories of the week. We're going to be covering Golfgate and all the scandals and Big Phil Hogan and the audacity of him and everything like that. We're also just going to be talking generally about COVID restrictions and what else has been happening in the news. So,
I just noticed how you referred to him as Big Phil Hogan, like he's Hulk Hogan or something.
That's what I keep thinking every time I hear it. Like, I don't know why, but every time in my head.
And then you watch the Resignation and he's this like little wormy old man.
Every time in my head I think of Phil Hogan. I don't know why, but yeah. But to start us off, Des, as an introduction, tell us a bit about Rupture magazine. This is the new eco-socialist quarterly that has just been released this month. And it's been going well, hasn't it? You, one of the editors on it. How has it been going so far?
Yeah, well, it's gone really well. We've just published our first edition. I think it's just 3 weeks ago now that we've got the first, got the hard copies and started to deliver on those. So it was quite a lengthy journey that, within Rise, we started the conversations about wanting to have a publication. And kind of, I put my hand up to be part of the editorial board for that because, I'd kind of been reading the likes of Jacobin from the US and then Tribune in Britain, which were of interest. Also wanted to do something kind of different to what had been produced by the left in Ireland in recent times. Something that would be engaging and interesting to a wide range of people with, a left-wing view of the world. But also something we kind of said at the outset, we want, rather than Jacobin is just a kind of, isn't associated with any particular organization, but we did kind of want our magazine to be associated with and reflective of the politics of Rise, so to be reflective of our Marxism and our eco-socialism, but then also to have other left-wing contributors beyond Rise. So, one of the highlights for me in this first edition of the magazine was to have Michael Lowy contributing, who is kind of somewhat of a legend in eco-socialism internationally. So that was fantastic to have.
Yeah, I just finished reading his book actually, and it's just like, I don't know, it's so cool. It's like, it's almost like, these people are like talking about things like brand new theories of eco-socialism and stuff like that, and it's just like, it's really exciting to be reading about, It's very cool.
Groundbreaking.
Really it is though. It's like building on Marx, but it's stuff that like Marx didn't even cover himself, obviously because of the time it was written and stuff like that, but it's just like it is like groundbreaking. It's very cool. It's very
but we also then spend quite a bit of time talking about the design of it, because I think the design of left-wing publications in Ireland leaves quite a bit to be desired, and we did feel we'd like to do something innovative and interesting and new, and again engaging for people.
Yeah, I feel like the time spent on it was well worth it because it's so eye-catching. And
definitely.
Yeah, and a lot of time was spent on it. And
I feel that.
So some of our other members on the editorial board in particular brought some really good design opinions too. Certainly that part of it, I was a bit of a backseat passenger and just kind of was commenting on what looks nice and what didn't, and I wasn't able to bring a lot of expertise beyond that. But some of our members did have great expertise. So
it's definitely like pretty first and foremost, which I think is a great thing, because I feel like people understate the importance of that. Like, you might have the best articles possible, you might have the best things written in it. If it looks shit, no one's going to pick it up to read it. So do you know what I mean? It has to look pretty first, and like it has to be beautiful on the outside and the inside, isn't it?
Yeah. But especially for like catching people's attention, if you're trying to, spread your ideas at a protest or amongst your friends and family and stuff, to be able to show them something so beautiful and finished and polished that we worked on is amazing, and it's really a lot easier to sell, trust me.
and key to making that happen was that we decided that we would get a professional designer involved, and we were really lucky through people who knew people to get in touch with Hunter Christopher, who did such a fantastic job on it. So it was something we had to think about, because that obviously costs money, and we don't have a whole lot of money to use. So we thought about it for quite a while, but in the end we said, this is going to be worth it, and we're really so glad now that we did do that. So I think we it turned out very well in terms of both the content and the look and feel of it.
Are we declaring now the 8-page black and white left wing like newspaper is now dead? No more Workers' Vanguard, no more Workers' Hammer.
What do you mean, Dave? I thought newspapers were at the cutting edge of journalism, and people love that.
Is that not what all the young people are reading nowadays? No.
I was showing the magazine to like people I work with, and comparing it to like other like newspapers or whatever that I collect from various left wing groups, and just like the contrast was unbelievable.
Definitely. I think, Nicole, the article you wrote for it wins best title for sure. Sage Against the Machine. Thanks. That is like the coolest.
I was so proud of that. The article wrote itself after that, to be honest, guys.
It's like, seriously, it doesn't matter what you wrote. Like,
Stroke
that title
genius,
is just...
I love a good pun.
But maybe tell people what's it about, because it's a very intriguing title. What is it about?
I mean, so the idea of Sage Against the Machine is obviously to catch people's attention because it's a hilarious pun. But it's also to kind of highlight that people are kind of acting in a kind of rebellious and anti-capitalist way if they are to take, gardening into their own hands and to start to look into things like horticulture and living from the land and stuff like that again. Like, that's a real growing trend. So just to kind of address that and how people genuinely are happier, both physically and mentally, if they spend time in nature and they embrace it and they go out and put their fingers in the soil and listen to the birds and, all of that good stuff.
Love it. No, it's cool. And I think as well, like we were talking about there, like how it's different to other left publications, stuff like that. And like, I think that's also a big aspect of what's in the magazine as well. Like, we have a whole section on like what historically has been done by socialists, what can be improved on, what we think, should be like gotten rid of totally, should be totally started again, stuff like that. I think like that's really important part of the magazine as well. So
yeah, I'm really interested to see how it's going to develop as well, with us including opinions from other places on the left. And the idea is to hopefully have kind of a debate style thing at some stage. And it's just really nice to share ideas across the left instead of just slating one another and putting each other down.
Yeah, the idea would be that we'd engage in a dialogue with others on the left. That it has that double role of just expressing the rise view of the world, but also then in hearing the views of others and have that dialogue and share that with people who are reading it, because that is going to be the nature of building a broad left organization that doesn't exist currently and is badly needed. And Rise, we know that we're not going to be that big working class organization, but we want to be part of it. So you start off by helping to generate a dialogue with what you've got. So
And where please illuminate us, Des. Can we get a copy if we haven't gotten one yet? I have mine, but if any listeners out there want one, are we selling out? I heard. Is that a rumor or?
Yeah, it's
well, we're not selling out, but the magazine is good.
We're selling out in a good way.
In the good way.
Yeah, we're approaching now. The last I heard, I think we were down to about 20 copies, but we are going to do a small additional print run.
Get them while they're available, guys.
Yeah, so yeah, they are running low. We are printing a few more, but not a huge amount. So they are available through the Rise website and onto Rupture there, or Rupture on Twitter, and you'll just see the link. So you can buy it online. Is going to be your best way to get it. There were some in Connolly Books in the city centre in Temple Bar. I'm not sure if they're still there, but if someone was in the city centre and wanted to pop in there, some are available as well.
Wait, if someone goes in and sees that they're all sold out, send us like a picture of it over social media so we can be proud of ourselves in that way too.
Exactly.
If there's still all the copies there, though, don't tell us. We don't want to know.
Yeah. Say nothing.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you for that, Des, giving us a bit of insight on Rupture. So we'll jump into news stories from here, I think, to Big Phil Hogan. I just cannot get over the neck of this man. Like, he is just something else. Like, I don't know. Can someone bring us up to date on the actual shenanigans that took place at all? Because, like, I couldn't keep up with how fast he was moving around the country at one point. Like, he was just, like, jumping from county to county. So does anyone know exactly where he went or what it was? Obviously the golf thing. But wasn't he also in Kildare and, like, going in and out of Kildare, no bother, like, or something like that?
He went to so many places that when he was explaining himself to the president of the commission, he had to provide a map of Ireland to show where all the different counties were. So he arrived back, like, that's real, like, he provided her a map to show everywhere.
Oh, God.
So he arrived back, I think, on the 31st of July. So he was meant to, like, self-isolate or quarantine because he was coming from Brussels and it's not on the green list or whatever.
But he didn't break any laws, Dave, just guidelines.
But he didn't.
Well, yeah. It's like the Johnny Cash song, isn't it? Like, I've been everywhere. Like, I've been to Canada.
So, like, he arrived in Dublin. He went to somewhere where he's staying in Kilkenny, presumably his home. Then he had to travel back to Dublin for a medical appointment, and I think he also met Leo Varadkar. Then on his way back to Kilkenny, he stopped off in Kildare, where he has another place to collect papers. Then he also made a second visit to Kildare at some point. He went to Limerick as well. And then he went to wherever this golf game was happening. So he did this, like, whole tour. And he apparently as well, he also went to the K Club for dinner on the night he got back, despite saying he was quarantined. So he did all that travelling. He went for a game of golf. And he got stopped by the guards while using his phone while driving. So, like, the fella went everywhere.
But he didn't break any laws, isn't that what he said?
Yeah, he just didn't follow. He didn't follow the guidelines in as tight a way he could have. But has anybody seen that picture going around the internet of, like, the Wikipedia page for him?
No.
Is it him? I think it's him, and it's like, you know, explaining that he's the EU commissioner, and it's like known for having the world's longest neck for fucking things that he's done.
That's very good.
The fucking neck.
The neck.
I saw someone on Twitter saying that they were scarlet for the people in the counties where Phil Hogan didn't bother going to.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed for you.
Calvin missed out. As always. Yeah, so the actual golf game, the whole scenario with this was crazy, right? Like, I think this is like, we can laugh about Phil Hogan being an absolute gobshite, but this golf game, I feel like there's, like, serious aspect to it because of, like, the people that were at it. So it was like, what, media people, ex-judges, Fianna Gaelers, Fianna Fáilers, Labour heads, like, it's like all these people who, you know, supposedly fight against each other and, you know, all kind of have the best interests of the people at heart and stuff like that. And it's like, nope, they're all playing golf together and who knows what the fuck they're talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I heard like they had, like, papers with them and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like, what sort of business deals were going on or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's fairly makes you fairly sick. Like,
You can absolutely just imagine them doing that, like Stonecutters, the we do. And also there's that scandal of like Brian Hayes had a +3, was it? Or a +2? And the rumour has it that they were vulture fund like owners or whatever you would call them.
Yeah, so like Brian Hayes is I think like he has some high position in this group, the Banking and Payments Federation, so he's like a lobbyist for the banks, and like he's a former, I think, junior minister for finance. So like he's the type of guy that can move from politics to this type of career and like lobby, like the way they say, like it's like there's an invisible link between the political establishment and these big business interests. And this is what this dinner was like, so like they don't have to report, like there's rules around lobbying, but like you're not lobbying, you're gone for a game of golf with the lads, like,
Oh, I didn't know we would all be here at the same time this evening.
Yeah, so I brought my vulture fund mates along.
Yeah. Coincidence?
They just love a round of golf.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, if you were asked to create an infographic showing how power works in capitalism, you'd come up with something like the 81 people in that room, because, it is made up of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil politicians, a senior mainstream media, radio presenter, Supreme Court judge, CEO of the Bankers Federation, CEO of Digital Business Ireland, also a former Labour Party senator, Phil Hogan, an EU commissioner. And I think, I think that's why it had such there was an incredible visceral response of people to it, because people kind of know that that's how power and capitalism works in Ireland and in general. But it's kind of, it's an abstraction normally. But here it was, bang, right, revealed to them under a bright white light. And in the context then of the way people have been, living over the last few months, and the frustration with the way, the situation has been dealt with, and the disregard for public health requirements, all got triggered and produced this incredible visceral response from people, because it just brought it from the abstract into the real.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of saying, oh, like, how stupid are these people to be like caught doing this or whatever like that. And it's not that they're stupid, it's that they like knew they would be able to get away with it for the most part. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's one law for everyone else and then a different law for them. Like, it's not that they like thought no one would find out, like they knew probably they would get found out, but they just like, obviously the only people who've had to resign is Dara Callery and now Phil Hogan, but like everyone else got free. Do you know what I mean? Pretty much. Like, there has been obviously backlash, but like, do you know, like, it's not that they just like didn't have an idea that this was going to happen. Like, I think I heard that Enda Kenny was there as well, but he didn't go to the dinner. He just went to the golf game or whatever, and he said that this was a bad idea and no one listened to him or whatever. When Enda Kenny's the most intelligent person in the room, you gotta fucking look at yourself and like, do you know.
But like there's like, what the thing about it, like, so stuff like this probably goes on all the time and we very rarely hear about it. Like, they were comparing it to the time with Brian Cowan when he was caught playing golf with the head of one of the banks just months before it sank the economy. So like, it's just the specifics of this that have exposed them, like, like the idea that everyone else is locked up, in their houses, like obeying laws, that like Seamus Wolf, it has a hand in writing, that Derek Cleary or whatever he's called is going around passing through, and then like the day after he's literally,
Yeah, that's the biggest insult, is it's literally the day after.
Yeah. Well, I think Dara Cleary, didn't he famously say that COVID-19 loves to party, and the next day he went to a party.
Yeah. I know, that's the whole thing as well that's really pissing me off, like this idea that, oh, it's young people and partying and whatever. And obviously, like, yeah, sure, there are young people having parties around the country, whatever, they shouldn't be doing it. But like, it's not the main reason. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously way more at play here, like, and they're just love to brush it off onto someone else and like get away with all this shit behind the scenes. It's just rotten. Like,
I genuinely feel like they're so arrogant though that they're kind of nearly feel as though they should be still allowed to meet up with each other. You know what I mean? They were like, yeah, but we wanted to mark the occasion of a man that I knew well's death, I think was one of their excuses. And it's just kind of like, people all over the country have relatives who have passed away from this, who are, you know what I mean? As if your memorial is more important than other people's, and that genuinely is their attitude, like.
But like the idea that they thought they could just stick a partition down the middle of the room of the hotel, like, you know,
Yeah.
and that this was like them dividing into two smaller groups. It's just incredible. And apparently, Phil Hogan, he's now kicked out of his like hundreds of thousands a year job, and like all he got for it was apparently he won a George Foreman at the golfing tournament.
Yeah. I've been loving all those jokes. I hope that was worth it, Phil. That you're going to be grilling now for a while.
Well, George Foreman was known for his comebacks like in boxing, like, so maybe Big Phil's shaping up for one, you know.
Oh God, I hope not. Like, did anyone see his apology? Like the worst apology ever. It just reminded me of like gaslighting like exes or whatever, you know, being like, I'm sorry if this hurt your feelings. Like, I'm not sorry about what I did. I'm sorry that you got upset about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, it made my skin crawl.
It's kind of like almost like he was annoyed at people for paying attention to it. You know what I mean? He's like,
right.
It was a distraction from my duties as I was doing. You know what I mean? No, it's not a distraction. It's people actually calling you out the truth. Like, you know what I mean? If it's the distraction to try and get people to not pay attention to these things that their politicians are up to, like, I don't know, he just said distraction or distracted probably about 1,000 times in his little 5-minute speech. Like, at one stage he said, in fact, I've done it. He was like, I know how to take responsibility for my actions. He was like, in fact, I've done it before, 25 years ago. And what I want to know is, what the fuck did he do 25 years ago? Does anyone know? And if
Dave
so,
definitely knows.
How did he end up as EU commissioner afterwards? Yeah, I'd love. That's why I wanted to ask the question before we let you in, because I knew that you would know.
he was a minister for something and he had to resign. I can't remember what it was over though, but I know that he'd previously resigned from a position, but I think he tried to put a better gloss on it that time. Sort of like Derek Cleary's doing this time, like all this talk about Derek Cleary being an honourable man because he's resigning, and it's like, no, he got caught, like, you know.
Like, why do they think that that's taking responsibility? Like it's a good thing to bring up that you had to resign 25 years ago as well. That's like going into your job interview and being like, yeah, well, I did have to resign from my last job as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that you want to fucking bring up. Like,
there was a bizarre thing as well. Hogan, he was doing a radio interview and he was, you know, asked about this thing where he was stopped by the Gardaí for using a mobile phone while driving. And then in response to that, he made some comment about, well, if the guards knew I was an EU commissioner, they wouldn't have pulled me over at all. But, you know, so,
oh my
that's
God.
not how it works.
The
you know,
audacity.
The level of entitlement that's so embedded that he couldn't even stop himself saying this on a national radio interview that was designed to try and, deal with and dampen the fires of this crisis, and comes out with this stuff. So the psychology...
Sure, what was it he said about the water charges when he was like, oh, we'll turn the water down to a trickle if people don't pay or whatever. Just like absolute like bullying mentality, just like... Oh, just a brute of a fella. He seems absolutely awful.
Like the cheeky grin on his face the whole time he was doing that resignation. Like he thinks it's all a joke.
But like this thing about like Big Phil, right? Big Phil, you know, and then like all the political correspondence, like he's a bruiser, he's a tough man, you know, all this type of stuff.
It's like, not a good thing, like.
No, but he's not, like, when you think about it, right? So like water charges, he was going around throwing shapes like, you know, I'll cut your water off. He got beaten. Going around thinking he can break all the lockdown rules. People go mad. People knock him down again. You know, he's out of a job, like, you know. And like the guy is just unbelievable. Like, and I think like before he even apologised, like he tried to put this story together, saying like, you know, oh well, I didn't really do that, and he tried to put blame on like the hotel federation, saying I checked with them, they said it was okay to have the partition, and then the whole hotel federation had to come out and say, yeah, no, we didn't. Then something came out saying that he was seen somewhere else, so like he had to add to this story. He tried to have this story that he was Kilkenny, Dublin, Kildare, and then like it just all kept coming out.
Do you know what though? The worst thing about it all is if this podcast, or when this podcast is still going in a few years, we're going to be talking about his next fucking job that he has to resign from a high powered position. Do you know what I mean? He's just going to get placed back somewhere now again Brian Hayes and the lads all sorted out.
Sure. He bought a gaff for 425 grand with no mortgage on it there a few months ago.
Fuck's
Like,
sake.
what the hell?
No wonder he was smirking the whole time.
So he's basically like probably wanted to resign anyway. This is a easy out for him, or so, like
He sleeps on money. He sleeps on a bed of money.
Rotten. But like, yeah, I think people are just getting pissed off in general. Like, obviously people are pissed off at the lockdown. Like, people, you know, had hoped to be out of lockdown by now. Obviously it's not the case and everything like that. I think people are just getting fed up, and like, the government had a facade of like they were doing a good job at the start. Not even a good job, but they were just kind of like trying to help people, you know, and now that's just like gone, and like they've been shown up for what they are. But I think like it's very justifiable that people are getting pissed off at this stage, like, you know.
Yeah, I think it did trigger a lot of things, you know, going right back to, you know, say go back to the 2020 election in February, where Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil got the lowest combined vote between them in the history of the state, and yet remain in power. And this, you know, it's a point that's been made before that this government has probably got the lowest level of working class votes that any government has ever had in the history of the state. So there's all that class exclusion and resentment that is there, and it's the first economic crisis in the history of the state where there isn't mass emigration immediately kicking in. Instead, we've got, you know, a lot of younger people who, you know, would have gone, who are here and are deeply resentful about the situation they're in and how the government is dealing with it. So I think it has triggered all those resentments that are there, that are building up, and that's why it has been as ferocious as it is, and why the establishment has had to go further than it often would in these situations. Often there wouldn't be as many resignations as quickly as there have been, because they just ride it out. But just the level of resentment that has been building up out of these various things all got triggered by the sheer...
it's like a slap in the face on top of it all,
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Stephen Donnelly, was it last week, about the trampoline or whatever?
Stephen Donnelly is... like, he's just like a politician who's become a minister because he has the ability to string a sentence together. And like in normal times as a minister, like, he could be a robot with an algorithm, right, that just pulls out like buzzwords from like 1990s like neoliberal management books, like, you know.
Yeah.
That's all he speaks like.
Synergy.
We're gonna get a team together. We're gonna be precise. We're gonna do this, and he's taken to walking around with his sleeves rolled up, which is like hilarious, as if he's gonna get in.
No.
And then this interview where he's like copying Donald Trump, saying like the presenter goes to him, you know, there's loads of parents around the country who are going to be scared tonight, you know, because their kids are going back to school this week, and he's like, yeah, I'm scared too, you know, but we have to take risks. Driving a car is risky. Jumping on a trampoline is risky. And you're like, what is wrong with this fella?
I actually didn't think to compare it to Trump myself until now, Dave, and that is so true. Like, he's just like, yeah, so schools are different from our homes because they're controlled and our homes aren't controlled. And he's just talking shite. Like,
not like it's we elect you to make sure that it's safe. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, imagine the person who was fitting your airbags in your car was like, you know, it is dangerous. You know, we don't know what we're going to do about it. And it's like, just put the airbags in and then it won't be as dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like very easy. Like,
and then she pushes him on it and she's like, why, the interviewer, and she's like, why are you comparing this global pandemic to children going on a trampoline? And he's like, well, you know, loads of things that we do carry risk.
And you see the faces he's pulling in it. Like, he's saying this mad stuff and he's looking at her like, and it's like he knows, like, you know, the algorithm.
Am I getting away with this? Is this okay?
my algorithm is broken, you know. And he's like, he's just there looking at her.
Bring
like,
out the trampoline. They never know what to say when you bring that.
The irony is that his advisors that he's employed, I think there's at least two of them, but they don't have any health policy background. I think they're media people, you know, and that looked odd to start with. But then even, you know, when it comes to the media piece, you know, to make such a god-awful mess of that, like, you know.
So true.
Yeah, like, because...
it's like, Stephen, reassure them that you're in control and you know what you're talking about. And it's like, just do the absolute opposite. Like,
Control, Alt, Delete.
Yeah.
But come here, there was this hilarious piece in the Irish Independent talking about him, right? So I'll just read this quickly. Within government circles, there isn't surprise that Stephen Donnelly has been found out, just that it's happened so fast. After dealing with Donnelly a few years back while he was still in opposition, a mild-mannered civil servant described the future health minister as the biggest bullshitter in the Dáil. And then it continues on. Donnelly
That's some title to have as well.
Donnelly never misses an opportunity to mention he was a management consultant and treat anyone else as if they are simpletons. His mansplaining of COVID-19 restrictions have now exposed him to a wider audience. The guy is like, that's in the Irish Independent, like, you know.
That's fairly fucking spot on for the Independent. Like, you wouldn't think it.
But did you see with the schools going back, the picture of the isolation room in some school, which was like a garden shed out the back with a few breeze blocks holding it down and 2 chairs, like, you know.
Well, just in general, like me, like just on Facebook seeing people post pictures of their kids going back to school, in my brain I'm like, no, like I don't know, it just seems wrong. Like, I don't know, we shouldn't be.
It's like you're sacrificing them.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird.
Also, saying that schools are a controlled environment, you can't control kids in the same way. Like, they're gonna be hugging and they're going to not follow the restrictions in the same way.
I used to eat dirt as a kid. Like, do you know what I mean? It's
exactly.
you have no idea about germs when you're younger. Like,
and they haven't seen each other as friends in 6 months. You're going to be excited, and no, it's not going to work as a controlled environment.
But like, isn't what's happening? It's like what happened at the start of the pandemic with health, like where, you know, like this terrible state of all public services in the country, whether it's health, education, anything. It's like the pandemic has shown how bad they are. Like, you know, like at the start it was health, where they had to like try and get people like to come back to Ireland to basically work for free as doctors and nurses. And now like the issue around schools, where like we have the highest class sizes in Europe, they can't get teachers. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing is falling apart, and we put up with this normally, and we're told like, God, there's nothing we can do. And now it's like, well, it's not normal. So how are you gonna, like, how is society gonna function with everything in such a state? Like,
yeah, like the high class numbers is, like you say, is a problem already, and it's something that like teachers have been talking about. It's like you're not able to cope with 35 in a class, like especially junior, senior infants. Do you know what I mean? Like 4-year-olds running around, like it's impossible if there's like 40 of them. Do you know? And now, obviously, like you're saying again, it's really not possible now. Do you know what I mean? Now it's like actually dangerous to the population in general. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I just don't know, but I feel like there's been no guidance for schools.
Yeah,
like,
I was just going to ask, does anybody know what the measures that they're claiming have been brought in are?
People I know who are teachers are kind of just like, where we're going to have to like work it out. Like, I feel so bad for like my friends who are teachers. They're kind of just like, we're going into this fairly blind, like we have an idea about what we're supposed to do, but like no masks, no, like, did you see that like picture of like all the rules for COVID-19 restrictions and then all the rules for schools? And it's just like, you can have this many people in normal times. You can have like twice as many in schools. You have to wear masks everywhere in society, and in schools, no masks. Like, it's just like, I don't understand like at all.
Like, but no wonder people think that it's like what we're being fed is a lie. You know what I mean? Because there's such contradictory information out there. Like, and they're saying that everything is according to health experts' advice, but then it's not the same information that we're delivered. You know what I mean? It's get business back to usual for profits, basically. And then if we can stick in a precaution here and there that doesn't cost us anything, then happy days.
It is a thing that's going, you see it globally, that there is this huge push to get children back to school no matter what. Now, you know, getting children to school is important. You know, there's a huge risk for children not having their education experience. But, you know, there's this major push on that you feel is just connected to get the children back to school first, and then put the pressure on the parents to get back to work comes next. And that's the driver behind this, you know, which is clearly deeply disturbing. And it just looks inevitable, you know, that the next wave of COVID-19 is probably going to be heavily a function of children in school, the way things have been set up.
But also you're thinking, if teachers are going to be exposed to it, then like teachers are not going to be able to cover as easily from different schools and stuff like that, and having subs and that, like you're opening a minefield here.
It's literally just like a bunch of contradictions wrapped in like an oxymoron. It baffles me like how the government still are trying to hold up this idea that they're dealing with it well, do you know, when they really seem to be making it up as you go along. And like you say, Nicole, like these people who are now going out to protest and saying that maybe like COVID-19 is a hoax, and a lot of people seem to be believing that more and more, you know, like it seems to be, I see it like more and more amongst people I know. You can't really blame them, to be honest, because it does seem like a joke. It does seem like they're just making it up. And if they were dealing with it better, obviously, do you know what I mean? There would be much more information out there. There'd be much more clear information. There'd be much more consistency in how they're dealing with it. But as of right now, like 2,000 people out protesting last week. And obviously there's different aspects to that protest. I think there was organized by a lot of far right organizations, a lot of far right figures and stuff like that. But I'd say the majority of the people out there aren't far right. Do you know what I mean? They really are just concerned about the country and stuff, like, you know?
Absolutely. And it's just an opportunity for the far right to take a platform on it, you know? And then it endangers people on the left speaking about the issue then as well, because the far right kind of own it then nearly, you know, and it's a tactical decision on their part.
Yeah, I think there's like if people remember back to before Christmas, before COVID, there was like a counter protest against the far right, and like they were outnumbered 3 or 4 to 1 outside the Dáil. And I think what the issue is that like there's a bit of a vacuum now at the moment, because like you can imagine across the country are there 1,500 people who would see what was going on last week with the government, you know, in terms of what an absolute mess it is, that the double standards, the mixed up information the government are giving out. They could have had like so much happen to them in their personal lives over the last 6 months, lost a job, somebody, you know, died unfortunately, and that there's not 1,500 people who will travel up to Dublin 2 days after this major scandal comes out to have a protest. So like there is that it is imaginable that anybody could have called a protest and got that number of people. But I think like the far right are operating in this vacuum where, you know, like the vast majority of people are like, if you get on, like when I go into work on the bus, like people have masks on. When you go up to the square in Tallaght, like everyone's wearing a mask. Like, so people are going with it, and they're just trying to exploit this anger, and like they're pointing people is into all the wrong avenues.
Yeah. The far right, they really seized the opportunity created by the lockdown to literally, you know, to flout the restrictions and literally claim public spaces that they wouldn't have been able to take before. You know, so taking the GPO, which they've, you know, taken up residence on there. Because if you think back, it was in February 2016 remember when Pegida tried to organise, and they tried to do something at the GPO,
and they got attacked on the train.
Yeah, the left mobilised and literally ran them off the streets, and they were never heard of again. And the left should, and I think would have mobilised this time around, but because of the pandemic and the restrictions, the left were effectively demobilised. That the far right ignored it and have established themselves and you know, and have grown, and now, you know, have used conspiracy theories in particular, and that, you know, it is a problem, because a lot of people are looking at trying to understand what's happening around COVID-19 and in general in their lives. The injustices and the economic crisis, and trying to understand that, and they have very little trust in the mainstream media for very good reason. So they're looking around, and inevitably some will be drawn towards conspiracy theories, and from there that brings them into the sphere of influence for the far right, and you know, they have reached a level with the sort of numbers that we saw at the weekend that is really problematic.
Well, even like the physical attacks or whatever, like, you know, the videos that were going around of they had weapons.
Yeah.
But personally, I do think there's a big mistake on the left going on here, though, in that everybody's been tarnished with one brush. You know what I mean? They're saying everybody who was at that protest is an idiot, and they're a conspiracy theorist, and they're alt-right, and it's not right. And it's going to push people further to agree with people who are, you know, giving them information that they are in agreement with. So I just think it's really not a good idea to just go in slating people because they have a difference in opinion on you on this topic. You know, it's not the right way to handle it. And I think if the left is to truly take on the alt-right, it needs to be a united effort, and it needs to be not slating ordinary working class people who may be misinformed or maybe just differing from you slightly. You know, it's not fair.
I think you need to like make a very clear distinction between the organisers of this and then the people who went to it. And I think that's where things are getting confused or whatever, you know. And it's like the people who are organising this are doing this with a very clear agenda. They don't actually care about society in terms of COVID. They don't really care about if we make it through this pandemic or not. Do you know what I mean? They're recruiting. They are looking to get people on their side. They are looking to like exploit people's well-meaningness. And like you say, like everyone's saying about like how they are scared or not scared, but like confused about what the government's doing and like worried for their families, and or basically saying that like the government are just lying to us, which is also like a terrifying thought as well. Do you know what I mean? And they're exploiting that.
Well, I mean, the left is the first to go against government regulations and stuff normally. So now all of a sudden we're like only going with the government, like,
and that's why like the right have swooped in here to kind of be like, right, this is something that we can totally take up or whatever, which is there
was actually a good editorial in that online magazine, The Beacon, which covers a lot of anti-fascist stuff, and it was making points along these lines, like that the question is, how do we reach out to those people who were attracted to, you know, like this like anti-government, do you know what I mean, like there'd be people, even any protest you have that's sort of like against the government, you get people from all different sort of political persuasions, like ordinary people who may not agree with, like, you know, say if we were up there, they may not agree with everything that we say. But I think like the question is, how do you reach them and not just like
alienate them,
just like push them into the arms?
Yeah.
And like I think like one of the things, like when the left are talking about it, like I mean, if we're there talking about like there's a danger in terms of like the language, how it all gets mixed up, like, you know, because people see so much on the internet these days. So like I think like clearly like one of the key issues is like class consciousness is really, really low, so therefore people look around and they don't look at things in terms of their class interests, and like the idea that when people go, well, is it really in my interest that I don't wear a mask, is it in my you know, like in terms of solidarity, is like the great replacement theory, all this type of stuff, is that actually real? Like, is there really a guy called Q who's high up in the White House who posts stuff on the internet like every like other week to expose stuff, like, you know? But like I think there's one example that I can give in terms of the role that these people play. So like the Debenham strike is ongoing now at the moment, okay? So like these are like, so this is the role that one of the far right groups, the National Party, played in this. So you have a group of about 1,000 workers who are going to, like, the company, this like major company that's now going bust, is trying to shaft them out of all their redundancy money. So like they're it's like a David versus Goliath battle, like, you know. So on one of the picket lines, the National Party turn up, and instead of like showing solidarity and like how can you win the strike, they come in with going, oh, where's all your foreign colleagues? Are they not out on the strike? Like, you know. So like in this,
stop it.
Oh yeah, like they got thrown off, like, you know. But like they came in, like you have this situation where you have a group of workers fighting back against a major boss, and instead of putting the blame on the boss for screwing these workers over, they try and divide the workers, like, you know, to make them even weaker. And that's the role that like you multiply that by 1,000,000, and that's like the role that they're trying to play in society in terms of they distract you away from who's the person really robbing you, and they look they try and place the blame on, like, you know, like somebody who's no fault for anything.
And that's like exactly what you were saying, Nicole. Like the left have to be really serious now in terms of putting up a united front against the far right, because they are growing, they are getting more numbers, they are getting more numbers at their protests, they are getting more aggressive. They're, you know, they have these ideas for society, and like we need to stop them. There's just like no question. It has to be like zero tolerance,
and we can't let them own the anti-establishment platform. Like,
well, this is the thing. Like
that's ours as well.
The right are very good at like coming together, you know, even though all these different groups, like all these different heads or whatever, like Justin Barrett and whoever, like a lot of them, like, you know, have bad blood with each other and stuff like that, and they don't agree on a lot of things, and, you know, whatever. But you will be sure as hell that they will come together under a topic that's like, you know, favourable to them or whatever it is, and they will like stand together under that. And like the left have to do the same if we're going to conquer them in any way, shape or form. You know, if we're all fighting with each other and not fighting with them, then it gives them a lot of space and time, you know, to be growing like they are or whatever. So yeah, but we do have two figures of the Antifa heroes that we need to look up to now. Antifa super soldiers Jedward are on the case. They've come out. Everyone's like, can't believe Jedward are cool. I've liked Jedward since they were cool. Okay,
me too. That's what I was thinking as well. I'm delighted everybody
me
loves
too.
them.
I'm like, no one ever appreciated them, and now everyone's like, oh, Jedward are cool. I'm like, yeah, you're like 10 years too late. Okay,
Jedward were always cool.
Are you serious? Seriously? Yeah.
I'm
being deadly serious. I actually always.
I had a signed picture of them in my room. Like,
oh my God,
I'm
no
not even
way.
joking. I'm not even joking.
I didn't go that far now, Jesse.
I was like proper. I was like 12 years old, all right? Like, let's.
Yeah, in fairness, I was probably 18 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's swinging back in Jesse's favour. Nicole is the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What year were they on the X Factor?
I can't even remember, to be honest. Maybe I was a bit older. Jeez, I don't know. Anyway,
let's back to why we were talking about them now.
there are inspirations for Antifa. There's been a few other funny Twitter things this week, hasn't there? Like, have you been keeping up with any of the funny things going on?
Oh, did you see Boris Johnson? So Boris Johnson he's re-emerged now. You know, he disappeared there for a few months, but he's re-emerged.
Yeah,
now.
didn't he? I was wondering, when I saw him in the news, I was like, oh Jesus, yeah, I forgot about him.
We are sort of talking about this earlier on. So they're trying to get kids back to school in Britain, and now next week they're going to launch a campaign where they're going to get like force people to go back to the office, because like rents are crashing for offices, etc. So Johnson was going into a school to show how safe it was in the school. So just say he's standing, in the middle of the classroom, and you can see the left-hand side of the classroom. All the desks are spaced out, so there's only one kid at each desk, like they're socially distant, And then when he finishes the interview and the camera zooms, in the other corner of the class, you see all the other kids are just packed in over there to give the impression that it was social distance. But they're all just 20 of them in the corner, on top of each other.
What the hell?
The guys.
And they showed it. They actually aired
that cameraman knew exactly what he was doing. And he was what a working class hero.
Mm-hmm.
There was they made a speech, wasn't there? On there was the obligatory bookcase was behind him. I think it was the same school event. But when you zoomed in, you could see there would seem to be a load of books strategically placed behind, all of which kind of had lefty and anti-establishment type themes. So there was Fahrenheit 451. There's a book called Exodus, which is about a post-climate change apocalypse world in which which migrants are the heroes, and there's something called a book called The Twits, which kind of seemed to speak for itself.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. That was nothing subtle about it at all, just fucking twit.
And The Toll, and a book which is a tale of a dystopian world run by the most corrupt elements in society. So all these were the books direct around his head. So that looked like some teachers and perhaps some students had done some good work there as part of the resistance.
I think that's so good. I think the school really showed them up. We should find out the school and recruit them to rise. They seem to be on our side. Yeah.
The other little Twitter story I saw, I think it was either earlier today or yesterday, was just out of Hurricane Laura. So apparently there's an area, a small town called Lake Charles in Louisiana, and just a few days ago there had been a campaign on there for the removal of one of these Confederate statues where it was in this town. But the local parish officials, as they're called, had voted just a few days ago to retain the statue by a margin of 10-4, apparently. But then along comes Hurricane Laura, and thankfully it seems to have done a lot less damage in general, but it seems to have carried out a surgical strike and flattened this Confederate statue.
That's class.
It seems, for the God-fearing people of the local parish officials, that would seem to be sending them a message. So I don't know how they're going to respond to that, but hopefully they'll suck that up as a message from God and just leave it where it belongs. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're such Christian fundamentalists, you know what I mean? They'd have to take that as a message. I'm telling you, we have new comrades on the scene. We have Comrade Storm Laura, we have Jedward, we have the school that Boris Johnson. We have a lot of good developments going on.
Antifars everywhere.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Right. On that note, I think we're going to have to wrap it up for this week. Thanks everyone for coming on again, and thank you to everyone as always for listening. We want to say a big special thank you this week, though, to everyone who donated to our fundraiser. It was a huge success. We could not get over how many people donated and how many people donated such large amounts, stuff like that. We were absolutely overwhelmed by it. So I don't know if you can tell, but our silky sounds of our voice are recorded on our new mics now.
It's paying off already.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, we want to say thank you to everyone. We're going to be buying even more equipment. We're going to be getting a graphic designer in to do a new logo. And that brings us on to our relaunch that we are having in 2 weeks' time. So stay tuned, because we're going to have a very special episode, and there'll be bonus content for everyone who donated and everything like that. And yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So
thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and we'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Bye.
Bye.
Great. All right,
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
And your head's fucked. You stick your trousers on and your last bit of makeup. Your last coat button falls away, floating through life another day. One shoelace bigger than the other, people on the bus shouting at one another. Can of soup or guy mess. Go get that bird in the leery yellow dress. I'm wasting away.